Okay, this video is to tell you guys how to fill out the paperwork. So the first thing we need to fill out, here's a copy of the agreement. So when you're at the customer's house, don't rip this apart, don't rip any pieces off of it, leave it completely together the way that it is right now, and then we're just going to fill it all out, and the back copy gets ripped off and left with the customer. So the first section that we're going to fill out is the section right at the top here, the part where the dealer's information goes. So this is where you need to write the company name, the address, the phone number, the fax number, the GST number, and also our dealer number. So Lynn's going to help me out here and write. So the company name is Canadian Security Concepts. The address is 303 Richmond Street, Suite 204. And then the London, Ontario. And Nancy 6, Bob 2, Harry 8 for the postal code. And then the telephone number is 519-642-0444. The fax number is 519-858-3595. And then the GST number is 8133-759-46. R as in Robert, T as in Tom, 0001. Okay, and then the dealer number is 917. Now this info needs to be on the top of all the agreements. It's for our head office in London. That's what needs to be on all of the customer copies. Okay, the next part down right underneath that, there's a spot where it says this agreement was entered onto. It's right here on the agreement. And thanks, Lynn. And then, so you're going to put today's date on that line. The next section down here, guys, this is where we're going to fill out the customer's names, their address, and their phone number. And then to the right of it, there's a spot right here for their work numbers and their cell numbers. So go ahead, we're going to call this John and Mary Smith will be the last name. So enter John Smith for customer 1 and Mary Smith for customer 2. Remember to print, don't write on the agreement. Okay. And you can't make any mistakes. So nothing can be, if you make a mistake with a letter, nothing can be crossed out and rewritten. It needs to be perfect. So really take your time to do this properly. This is for a residential system, so we don't need to fill in the company name. So we're going to go right underneath that and write in the monitored location telephone number. This is their home phone number that we're going to write on there, which is 519-555-0001. Okay, and then we're going to get their email address, which we'll just say is jsmith, the letter J, Smith, at hotmail.com. Okay, we do need to have their email address, so this is very important not to get missed. And then we need to fill out their address underneath that, so we'll call it 123 Fake Street. And we'll say this is in London, Ontario. And the postal code is N6B1A1. Okay, so see how Lynn's printed neatly there? It's very important to make it legible, readable. Now rate N6B1A1, N6B1A1. And now the customer's work number and cell numbers go right here in this section on the side. So Lynn, just fill out a work number, and we'll say work and cell for John. And we'll just say a cell number for Mary. Maybe we'll say she's not working. Okay, and if you notice, Lynn just circled yes for the ECV. You're going to do that for their cell numbers, not their work number, Lynn. Okay, so you want to circle yes for the cell and no for the work number. So what we're going to do here is we're going to use this mistake that Lynn made on purpose for us to correct this mistake. So what we would do is just put a line through where she's circled yes, and make it an X so that way it's something we know. There you go. Okay, and then circle the N instead, and you would get both John and Mary to initial beside that mistake. Alright, and then that corrects it. Now that'll pass. So the reason that we circle yes for the cell numbers and we circle no for the work numbers here, fill in a cell number for Mary there for you also. And by the way, it will pass that you've circled the work and the cell numbers there, but you don't need to circle those, Lynn. Alright, those should be left without anything around them at all. Alright, just so you guys are aware of that. And then circle yes for the ECV for Mary's cell phone number. And what the ECV is it's called Enhanced Call Verification. Do you want this number called before we call the police? And the reason that we do want to do that for their cell numbers is to help prevent a false alarm from happening. So this way, if there's a, say they leave their house, they made a mistake arming it, then we're able to detect that it was a false alarm by calling them on their cell phones just when they're a block up the road. Alright, so it's designed to prevent false alarms that way, but obviously we don't want to call them at their work when they're maybe not even at work to find out whether or not it's a false alarm. And then this type of sale, right underneath that is going to be residential, so put a check mark in residential, and you're going to put a check mark in new. Okay, and then now we're going to go to this section here, which is underneath the address, called Description of Equipment. And so the DS or the control panel model is going to be called D as in David, S as in Sam, C as in Charlie, DSC. Okay, and then the price of the control panel is 0, so put a 0 with a line through it. And then the next one down is the door sensor. We're going to make that one for the front door, so under location put front, just the word front. Okay, the cost is 0, so put a 0 with a line through it. The next one we'll put for the back, and again the price is 0. The motion detector we'll put in the basement. You can use a short form here, so put BSMT for basement. Okay, or you can use Lynn's short form. And then the price of that is 0. Okay, and then the indoor sounder, the price is 0. We don't need a location for it. The keypad, do they want that at the front door or the back door? Let's say it's the front door, so put front door, not just front. Again, you can use a short form for door for DR. And then the cost is 0. The telephone jack is 0. The smoke detector, okay, let's put that on the second floor hallway, so write like 2 ND for second, FL for floor, and then put hallway. And the cost is 0. Okay, it's also, guys, remember, it's very important to be nice and neat like Lynn's writing is here. And then now there's some other equipment that we need to put in that's not listed here. So for example, we need the third door contact. So underneath the smoke detector, write door contact. And we'll make that for 2 garage. So just write the word 2, T-O, garage. And what that means is that it's for the house between, or the door between the house and the garage, not the house between the house and the garage. And the cost of that's going to be 0. And then we also need to have a key fob, which is the remote that you use to turn it on or off with. That doesn't need a location. So we write key fob in there and the cost is 0. We also need the ADT Pulse gateway. And then we don't need a location, the cost is 0. And then the next spot down we have the outdoor camera. And we're going to put that at the front door, so the location will be front door. And the cost again is 0. Okay. And then now I want to show you guys how to do extra equipment. So what we're going to do here is let's include a 4th door contact. So write door contact down again. Okay. And we'll make that for the side door. And the cost of that will be $100. We'll make it, just so it's easy. Okay. Anytime, if you know sometimes the price is a little different, guys, anytime we get to the price, just go with what I say on here, just so that way, sometimes we have different specials, but I want to make sure everybody has something that's easy to figure out for us here. and that's the most consistent we could make it, okay? So that's the equipment that we're going to put in. Now underneath that, the next section down, right here underneath it, this is called the commencement date, and we're going to put the date of the install in there. So the date of that install, let's make this for Monday, so we'll make it June 30th, 2014. Okay, and then the little space down here just below that to the right hand side, we're going to write the time of the install, which will make it in the morning, and we give a 2-hour window between 9 and 11 in the morning. Okay. And then now see the next line down that says completion date right there? We need to make that the end of the agreement, which is June 30th, 2017. So it's 3 years from the date of the commencement date. Okay, now don't worry, if those dates ever change, if the install date gets moved around a little bit, we don't need to change it on the agreement. So the next thing we're going to go to here now that we've got that side done is we're going to go to the description of service. Okay, whoop, you moved that on me there. And so the description of service, at the top of it, we have 2 different options. So you can either have it monitored by digital communicator, or we can have it monitored by cellular backup. So the one that we're going to use with this package is cellular backup, so you need to put a check mark in the spot that says cellular backup.
We need to include the GSM here.
Oh, that's a good point. Thank you, guys. We missed one thing, guys. So we're going to go back down here, and we need to put the GSM on the agreement. I guess I have some assistance today. And so write GSM, and the cost of the GSM is going to be 0 as well. Thank you, Spencer. And then now we're going to go back over here to description of service, and we are going to monitor this through the cellular backup. That's the GSM that we just went and wrote on it. Now I want you guys to understand something here is that if we change this package and it's monitored through the phone line instead of the GSM, then in that case we would have checked off digital communicator instead. Okay? Now what we also need to do is we need to excuse me. We need to take off the whatever the monitoring rate is, which is $60.99 on this package. Okay, don't do that yet, Lynn. See the line that's straight across from the digital communicator, right where Lynn just put her finger there? We need we need to take $60.99 and times that by 12 for the yearly amount, and put that yearly amount right on that line right there. Go ahead, Lynn.
Second line down? Or
Second line down. And if you guys somebody could figure out what that amount is and give that to them here.
$731.88.
Thank you, Spencer. Okay. Now, if that was digital communicator, then both of those would go up a line. So you would check off digital communicator, and monitoring it through the phone line, that number would have gone on the top spot there where Lynn is pointing with her pen. All right. Now, moving down this line, we are not going to check, burglary's already checked off. We are not going to check off duress. What duress is that is a special code that could be programmed into your security system. And what that code would do is that if the alarm, say you come into your house and somebody was forcing you to turn off the alarm, they could enter a special code that would send a message back to ADT saying that I was forced to enter that code, and that I was forced to turn the alarm system off. And then that way, obviously, they would still call the police. And that's one of the highest priorities the police department would ever have. We don't check off duress because it's not included. If somebody did want it, you would check off duress, and you would add, don't go ahead and do it, Lynn, but you would check off duress. And when we do the monthly monitoring amount, you would have just added in an extra $2 a month for duress. It costs $2 a month. All right. The next spot down is smoke detection. We are including a smoke detector, so check off smoke detector. And anytime that you are including a smoke detector, we also need to check off automatic timer tests. And what that means is that they're going to check the smoke detector periodically to make sure it is working properly. Now we've got burglary protection, we've got fire protection on here. We also need to put down the medical protection. So under other, write medical on that line right there. Okay, now the next line down says extended limited warranty. We are including that. So on the line straight across from it, point to that line, Lynn, right there. So we're going to write INCL for included on that line. Okay? And then we need to write down the monthly monitoring amount on the line that says monthly, which is $60.99. And then, now the total here that we're going to bring down, see the total at the top, guys? There's no other numbers added in there, so the subtotal at the bottom will still be $731.88. And then the HST on that is different for each province, just so you guys are aware of that. In Ontario, it's 13%. In Alberta, it's 5%. So for Ontario here, what is it, guys?
95.14.
So put that on there, Lynn. 95.14. And then you're going to total those two numbers on the bottom line there. And in Ontario, that number comes to?
827.02.
Okay, thanks, Nick. All right, now there's two different options. If they're going to pay monthly, we can have that automatically come off of their bank account or off of their credit card on the first business day of every month. So which do they prefer? First of all, we're going to check off monthly. And then let's say that it's pre-auth. So we'll check off pre-auth. Okay, if they were going to put monthly on credit card, you just would have checked off credit card instead, which is right where Lynn's pointing there. Now, if they don't want to have it pre-auth, they want to have a check sent out, the only way we could do that is if it's semi-annually or annually billing where they have to pay 6 months or a year monitoring up front, and in that case you would have just checked off check and checked off either semi-annual or annual, and ADT would send them a bill out for that amount of monitoring. Now the next line down where it says total costs, the next section down, what's our total equipment cost here? Well, back over here, if Lynn moves her hand for a second, it's $100. So we're going to take that $100 and put it on the top line beside equipment. And then we got to put tax on that. In Ontario is 13%, so put $13.00. And then this line out at the side here where Lynn's pointing, we're going to total that amount on that line. So it's $113 even. And then the only other thing we don't have on this agreement, because we have the monitoring on there, we have the equipment on there, we need to put the activation. So on that line that says other where Lynn's pointing, write activation. And the activation is going to be $299. Okay, and then the tax on that, Nick, $299 is?
$38.87.
$38.87. And then you're going to total those two numbers up on the next line over there.
$337.87.
$337.87. Okay. Now those two numbers that you have on the side, there is nowhere on this agreement to total them. What I'd like to do, Lynn, if you would flip to the third page, the customer's copy. Yeah, open it up. That's the first page. That one comes back to us. The second one comes back to us on the customer's copy. I'd like to just put a line underneath those two, right there, and I total it right there for them. So what's that total? You got that there? So $450.87. That way they've got a spot with the total, but it's not on the parts that go to ADT that would cause it to fail. All right, so we'll go back to our copy, our top copy there. And now underneath this, guys, at the bottom section here, the first page, there's some questions. And the first question here is customer owns the premises. We're just waiting for the camera to focus. It's not, there we go. Customer owns the premises. So right across from that, they have to be the owner if they're a residential system. That is okay to put no if it's a business and only if it's a business. The next one down is whether or not there's pets. So we're going to say yes, there's pets. Okay. And the last one down is if we're going to provide a guard service, which we are not. So the answer to that one is no. Now with pets, this section down here at the bottom that says comments, we're going to write down that there's one cat. And we'll say that there's one dog. And then in brackets, just put approximately 40 pounds. So you put the approximate weight of the dog. Okay? Perfect. Now, in this same section down here, guys, this is where you would put their mailing address. So see to the right-hand side there, Lynn, right to where you put that? We'll just go right, yeah, just right here. So right where your finger is there, start writing the word mailing address. And we'll say that they just had a post office box. So we'll just put P.O. Box 152. We'll say they live in Mount Bridges as well. So we'll put underneath that. So same as you would an address. So you start right there, put Mount Bridges. And then the postal code is NOL 1WO. Okay, so we'll show you guys that. See, right there, that you just fill it out just like that. Anytime that there's a mailing address. So the address here at the top, that's the system address. The address down here at the bottom, that's where their billing would go to if they ever wanted that to be a different address. Now, on the second page here, now that we're done filling out the first page, the second page at the top, go catch up. The second page at the top, okay, this is a part where it says password, personal identification code. It's the system pick. The spot on the left-hand side, it can be between 3 and 10 characters, and so we'll just say that that password is going to be what's the dog's name, guys?
Rover.
Rover? Okay. Jamie, we'll come back and get you caught up, okay? After. Okay, so that's where that goes. And what that password's for is so that if the alarm goes off and it's an accident and you want to cancel that call to ADT, then that password is the word that we can use to identify that it's you and not a burglar. Jason, Jamie missed something there. Could you help him out?
I make them one.
Okay. All right. And then this next section there that says customer emergency contact list. Now, we cannot use the customers in this section because their information is right here on the top of the first page. So they're already being called. So what this is for is this could be other people who live in the house or people who don't live in the house. We have to have at least one person who doesn't live in the house. And the reason for this is so that if they're ever gone away on vacation, if they're ever not able to be reached, then we have somebody else that watches the house that we could call. So we need to, for the first one, print the first name and last name on there. So we'd just say that's like Jamie Smith, I guess. We'll make it their brother. And put a phone number. You could put a work and cell number in for him. Right there in the middle. And then this is where you would circle whether it's a home or a cell number. And then the ECV would obviously be no. Okay. And then so you got a home number there, put a cell number for him as well, Lynn. And it's always good to have as many emergency contacts as you can. So let's go with 3, put Jane Smith. Okay, and let's put a cell number for Jane, just a cell number. And then we'll put Jack Smith for the third one. And just put a cell number in for Jack. And the ECV there would also be no. Okay. As a rep, you want to have 3 emergency contacts at all times because these are potential referrals for you guys. Okay, the more people you can get there, the more potential referrals that you can get. Plus, it's better for the customer because it reduces their risk of having somebody come out by accident. Now, the next spot down here, we're going to leave these blank for now. This is the police, fire, and medical dispatch numbers. Okay, sometimes you'll be told to put them in there, sometimes you won't be. We'll give you those numbers from town to town where you're expected to put them in, and you just put the phone number on those lines. It's very simple. So, Lynn, let's just put them on for this one. We'll just put, for police, I believe for London it's 519 661 8853, I believe, is the one for London. This is a dummy one, so it doesn't matter if it's wrong. That's supposed to be 661, right? Looks like 0 from here. Okay, and then the fire is 519 433 0111 in London. And the medical is 519 434 2711. Okay, just so you guys know where to put those. And then the next spot down here, this says the name of the dealer's representative who solicited the customer. So this is who booked the appointment. So Lynn, in this case, will say that you did that. So you put your name there. Most of the time it's going to be the same rep's name on both lines. And the next line down underneath that is the name of the dealer's representative who filled out the agreement. So you put their name on there again. Whoever's actually filling out the agreement. Alright? Now, the next section down here is for billing. The spot on the left is for pre-authorized payment. The spot on the right is for credit card. Now, to show you guys how to fill out both of these sections, what we're going to do in this case is we've already said down here on this side that it's pre-auth. So we're going to use pre-auth for the monitoring, but we're going to let them pay their initial investment by credit card. So to fill out the pre-auth section, what we do is we put I authorize dealer to withdraw all recurring service charges from my bank account. So you have a check mark in that box. And then we're going to check off the checking account right underneath that. Okay, and then we'll say the name of the bank is TD Canada Trust.
No spaces, right?
Yeah, you can have spaces. Okay. And then the transit number, that's the branch number. If you guys have a check and you look at the bottom of the check, there's 4 groups of numbers on it. Sometimes it looks like there's 5. The first group is generally 3 digits. It's the check number. It'll match up with the check number. The second group is 5 digits, and it's the transit number that's behind your finger there, Lynn. Okay, and we'll say that's 00123 for the transit number. And then the bank institution number, this is the bank. So since it's TD Canada Trust, this is always 004 with TD Canada Trust. And then the bank account number is all the numbers left after that, even if it ends up being in 1 group or 2 groups or 3 groups. So we'll just say that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 for their account number in this case. Okay, and we'll say that they're both on the bank account, so we could just put John and like the and symbol and Mary Smith. Even if on the check it's written John Smith and then underneath it Mary Smith, you could just put it John and Mary Smith just like Lynn's doing right here. Alright, now that's for the monthly monitoring. What we also need to do is fill out the initial investment. So they can either give you a check that's made out to Canadian Security Concepts in the entire amount of the initial investment, or they can pay by credit card. So they're going to check off I authorize them to charge my credit card, and since it's initial investment, she's going to check off installation. And then I'm going to wait for this to focus here. So see, she checked off installation. If it was monitoring, she would have also checked off all recurring service charges. But we're not going to do that because the monitoring is done by the bank account. And then we'll say this is a Visa. And then Lynn just put a fake Visa number in there for us. And then we'll put an expiry date in there. We do not need the security code on the back. Then we're going to put the cardholder's name. We'll say this one's John Smith. Now, it's very important to recognize, guys, that when you do get the pre-auth, you do need to get a void check from the customer as well, or a pre-authorized payment form. And whatever name that is on the bank account or whatever name is on the credit card must match up with the names that are written on the agreement. So sometimes you'll have a situation where the wife, maybe they just recently got married, but all her bank account stuff is still in her maiden name. Then this agreement would have to be in the maiden name, or it would fail with ADT as well. Now, underneath that, we need to get, there's a spot here where it says social insurance number or date of birth, okay, and this is for credit reference purposes only. Now, before you guys get this, we want the social insurance number more times than not. 90% of the time, if they've lived in that house for at least 3 years, we will find their credit with their date of birth. 10% of the time, we will not. If they have lived in that house for less than 3 years, 10% of the time we will find it with the date of birth. 90% of the time we will not. And if we don't find their credit, we can't install the system. Okay? And anytime that you have to call the customer back to try to get more information, increases the likelihood that that system's going to cancel. Okay, because it puts doubt in their mind. So how you explain this to them, because you can't require a social insurance number, but if they ever give you the option, which one would you prefer? Always choose the SIN, because you're 100% likely to find anybody's credit, no matter how long they've lived at an address, with their social insurance number. So how you explain this to the customer when you get to that spot is you just say, okay, Now, same as getting a cell phone, we do need to do a credit check on anybody that we put a system in for. Like I said, it's just like getting a cell phone. So in order to do that, I need to get the date of birth or the social insurance number from you in order to do that. And people generally pick the last one they hear, unless unless they would rather give the date of birth. So if you say it that way, most of the time they'll just fire off the SIN, and that can be the easiest way to get it. All right. So go ahead and put a couple SIN numbers in there for them, Lynn. Okay. If you did get a date of birth, make sure that you always print the month. So just do the 3-digit short form for the month, and then put the day, and then put the year in, like a slash between the day and the year. That way we know it. And the reason for that is because if it's like January 5th for the date of birth, just because you look at it as 01, 05, 1974 is January 5th, the person checking credit might look at that and think, well, maybe it's May 1st, and run the credit the wrong way. So by printing the month, it reduces the risk of it failing because they can't find them. All right. Now, then, on the third page, we're going to jump all the way to the third page here. Okay. And on the third page, we are going to print, so this is the signature of dealer sales representative. So Lynn, you're going to print your name under print name. First name and last name, obviously. Then you're going to put the date there, and you would put your signature on the line that's above that. Okay. Then you're going to put John Smith for the printed name part. You're going to fill this section in for them except for the signature. So you're going to print their names and the dates for both customer 1 and customer 2. Make sure that you keep it the same. If you have customer 1 on the first page and you switch that on the third page and you switch customer 2 and customer 1 around, that's not going to cut the mustard with ADT. Okay. And then underneath that, there's a spot for you to put the address again where we're filling out the agreement. So put the customer's address on it again, which is 123 Fake Street, London, Ontario, right at the bottom of that third page. Okay. Okay. Now this is how you fill out the agreement. We're going to do another video in a second with how I explain to you as the customer to fill the agreement out. And it's very important when we do that to remember, guys, that the story, whenever you tell a story, the part people remember most is how it ends. It's how that story ends at the very end of that story. So what we want to do when we fill this out, that you'll notice, is even though the buyer's right to cancel is right here on the second page of the agreement, we're actually going to get them to fill that part out first. So we get rid of the cancellation clause, we get it signed, and then everything after that, you'll notice a series of yeses, where yes, this is what we're putting in, yes, this is correct, yes, 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 and it moves right through into the end with them being able to get their commitment to go ahead forward with it. So that's how to fill out the paperwork, and you're going to get another video that, if you watch part 2, is going to tell you guys how to explain that to the customer.